Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Syamihadi bin Nasaruddin and from J4EM110 4E and my metric number is 2019400C18. So for today I will make a video about Team 1 experiment, which is the steam pressure curve of saturated steam, which is the market boiler experiment. So without wasting our time, let's check this video. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Now I will continue to the objective for the steam pressure curve of saturated steam, which is the market boiler for T1 experiment. So the objective of the experiment to study and understand the relationship between the pressure and temperature on saturated steam in equilibrium. And next is to study and demonstrate of the vapor pressure curve. So next is the safety procedure of this experiment. First, switch off all equipment of the experiment. Next, do not open the valve when the boiler is heat, as the pressurized steam can cause several injuries. And next is wear safety boot and lab coat. So now we'll go to the apparatus and the procedure. So for the apparatus, number 1, this one is the control panel. Number 2 is the steam pressure indicator. Number 3 is the heater switch, the side one. And next is the number 4 is the heater switch. Number 5 is the power switch. And number 6 is the power cable, this one. And the number 7 is the emergency switch. Next is the number 8 is the heater. And the number 9 is the steam pressure gauge. 10 is the steam pressure transmitter. 11 is the steam temperature transmitter. 12 is the boiler tank. 13 is the steam vent valve BVB 101. The number 13, this one. 14 is the side glass valve, which is the BVB 101. And the 15 is the water level indicator. 16 is the slide glass valve MVB 103. And the 70 is the water supply valve MVB 104. And lastly, this one at the bottom is the drain valve, which is the MVB 101 105. So for the procedure, I will use the same picture. So we have 3 steps for the procedure, which is the start up procedure, experiment procedure, and the end off procedure, shutdown procedure. So for the startup procedure, we will perform a quick inspection to ensure that all equipment in the operating condition. So we will check the valve, we will check the button. The condition must switch off first before we on the equipment, and then we will connect the unit to the nearest power supply, and then we will connect the power cable to the power supply. And next we will open the valve label MVB 101, MVB 102, MVB 103, MVB 104 to the side glass, which is the MVB 101 is the 14, MVB 102 is the 13, MVB 103 is the 16, and the MVB 104 is the 17, the water boiler valve, water supply valve. So next we will make sure the water level, this one, we'll make sure the water level is half or more of the tank height, or if the water level is less, we will fill the water first, and then we will continue to the next step. And then if the tank is filled to the sufficient amount of water, close valve MVB 101, 103 and 104. And after the water is in the fully condition, we will close the valve 101 and then 103 and 104. So next is the experimental procedure. First we will perform the startup procedure, and next we will switch on the power supply, and after that we will switch on the power supply for heater and wait for the water boil. And after that, we will close the valve MVB102 with the 13 one until the temperature reach the 16. So when the temperature reach 16 degree, we will off MVB102, and then we will take the reading of temperature of the indicator at every pressure interval of 0.5 bar from 1 to 10 bar for absolute pressure, and then we will key in the data into the table 2. So after we take the reading until the 10 bar, we will turn off the heater and we will perform the shutdown procedure. So last procedure, which is the shutdown procedure. Before we go to the shutdown procedure, make sure we will not open the valve until the boiler is in the cool condition, because when the boiler is heat, the pressure of the steam can cause several injuries because the steam is very hot. So lastly is the shutdown the boiler. So first we will switch off the water heater and leave the vessel to cool down until it reach room temperature. And next we will switch off the main supply after the boiler has reached the room temperature. Next is the return the water for the next experiment. Then we will open the valve at the upper part side MVB102 to release the water, and then we will open the valve at the bottom part, this one of the side glass, and the valve MVB104 and MVB105 to drain out the water of the tank. So that's it for the part A. Now we will go to the discussion and result. So for the result for the table T1 experiment with the steam boiler, so we will need to fill the three data of the experiment. First is the absolute pressure we will get in the experiment. Next is the temperature T which we get in the experiment 2, and lastly is the temperature T degree Celsius from the property table. So this one we will calculate by using the property table in the thermodynamic subject. So now I will fill the table. So after we finish fill the table, we need to do the graph for the absolute pressure versus the temperature, and the data that we will use for the temperature is both of the experiment, which is the experimental and the theoretical. So where we get the data for the temperature from the property table. So as an example, for the absolute pressure 1.5, we will get at the table A.5. So can see 1.5 bar equal to 150 bar. So we will get at this point. So we can see the saturated temperature, we will get 111.35. So because we will fill the table with one decimal place, so we will fill the table with 111.4. So after that we will use the same thing, such as the number 2 bar, we will get the 200 kPa. So the saturated pressure we will get 102.21. So if the equation we will get 1.3 or 1.4, we will do the interpolation to get the temperature. So that is for the explanation of the calculation. So lastly, for the conclusion of this experiment, so we can see we get all the result and the key finding of the experiment, where we will achieve to fill all the data in the table, and the objective of the experiment, which is to understand and to study and understand the relationship between the pressure and temperature of saturated steam in equilibrium, and to study and demonstrate of the vapor pressure curve, was successfully achieved. So after that, for the experimental result and the theoretical, we can see the data is not different at all, because we can see the curve is almost the same, but the data it different is the theoretical, which is the property table we get higher than the graph for the experimental result. So for the possible error in the experiment, maybe student need to close the valve closely, but if the student did not close the valve, and there will be some error in the result. So after that, for the application of this experiment, we can see the steam boiler experiment, we can see the application in the water boiler, where we can see at the home. So after that, the suggestion method of the experiment, where we can improve the result. So the suggestion we can take 2 or 3 times the result, and then we can do the average to get the exact of the precise result. So that is for the team 1 experiment. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and thank you.